how can one...
Wait. Does Dr. Mike have a take on COVID or the vaccines? Wait, what do you look up to find Evil Mike? Not this guy. I spelled this guy's fucking name wrong. Israel? Like this?
I will never go to a doctor ever again about my general health. All they want to do is put you on pills.
I'll tell you why doctors put people on pills, and it's a 2-factor, 3-factor reason maybe. One is that pills work. And they work really well, and they also work right away. If you have high blood pressure, taking blood pressure medication
Like
makes
we
it go away tomorrow.
actually part of this like yesterday.
If you have high blood pressure, but you try to diet and exercise and lose weight out of it, it will work. But in months and years, and it assumes you're successful. The success of blood pressure medications begins and ends at you taking the pill out of the container, putting it in your mouth. There is an understanding from some of the folks that do this kind of lifestyle medicine that everyone that comes into your door as a patient could be someone whose life you change by introducing them to all sorts of interventions that take a lot of time and effort. Generally, people that believe that have not worked sufficiently in the general population to understand that most people just won't do it. Evidence, the American obesity situation.
Okay. All right. We're watching this.
Engage audiences that seem to be...
Oh. There was a person in the disagreements channel, but they're gone. I don't know. I feel like I talked about this in the past, that like 20 years ago, there were like libertarians, but libertarians were just like, they believed in small government, but they weren't fucking retarded. Like, their political views might have been crazy, but they weren't crazy. But now I feel like people are libertarian because they're crazy. I feel like Dr. Mike is one of those guys who's like libertarian, but he's not actually a crazy person. I don't know. I don't want to set myself up though, because I'll just be disappointed. Hi, what's up? What do you want?
Go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is super fucking boring because you went from social media tools to fucking polio and shit. But I just wanted to say, don't go for Sprout Social. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay. Why not?
It is basically the most expensive social media management tool out there. I think it's overkill for what you need, unless you're looking to get social listening tools. As well as
definitely not. Yeah, I noticed that. Why? Okay, what do you recommend?
I would say, I know someone mentioned Buffer. Buffer is okay, but it's a bit cumbersome to use. Their calendar's kind of dog shit. Loomly is great and cheap, but it doesn't have Blue Sky integration. Do you need that?
It doesn't have what integration?
Blue Sky.
Oh, it'd be nice, but I guess it's not 100% necessary.
You can set one up in Loomly through Zapier, but yeah, I mean it's Zapier, and then you end up paying someone else for the, what do you call it, for the Zapier API, whatever the fuck, which is like, it's okay, but sometimes it fucks up. I definitely don't recommend using something like Later. I think you mentioned that.
Why not?
That one, it fails a bunch of times. So you'll just get a bunch of errors in posting.
Okay.
A lot of the time, still to this day. There's also Hootsuite, which we currently use. It's expensive, not as expensive as Sprout, but pretty expensive, and it's bloated, super bloated. But its calendar and posting and scheduling is very, very easy, very intuitive, and basically your team can learn it in a day.
Okay, fuck all that. So which one? So then, which one would you recommend?
I would say for your needs right now, it would probably be Loomly, Loomly. And I have no affiliation with them. I'm a brand content manager for a video game developer, so I don't give a fuck.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Do you need to be approving the posts though? That is the question.
Nah, as long as I can dole out individual permissions to team members, so like I can invite somebody who only has access to a TikTok and then invite somebody who's only access to that, that's fine then.
Yeah. No, that should be fine. That should be fine.
Do you have the ability? Can you limit permissions on this, or do you have to give like full permissions to every single person who gets like approved? Like, is there? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah. So on Hootsuite, you definitely can. You can have a bunch of like, let me see. I think you have like administrator, and of course they can connect all the accounts and stuff like that. And then the other people, they can have different roles. You can have an approver or whatever you call it role. You can have just an editor role. So that is possible in Hootsuite. I'm not sure how it is on Loomly. I know Buffer has a very good feature when it comes to that. So that's why I asked you about the post approval. On Buffer, it's great, and you have those roles. But I assume almost every social media tool must have something like it.
Okay.
But check it out. I think most of them offer free trial, except for Sprout, which is why it's fucking dog shit.
No, Sprout had a free trial. Yeah.
Oh, they do have a free trial. Okay, okay, that changed then.
But Sprout
That's
doesn't
nice.
allow you to differentiate on permissions either, which was annoying. But
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So Loomly or
There's,
check out Hootsuite maybe, but you recommend Loomly.
I would recommend Loomly just because I'm also currently trying to get away from Hootsuite because like we're on the enterprise plan and their support is great, everything is great, but they're really slow in implementing new stuff. So for example, I've been asking them about Blue Sky for about 3 months now, and they keep saying like, yeah, we're looking into it, and that's never going to happen. So I would go with a platform that's leaner and quicker to do stuff. That's why like Buffer is kind of on my radar, but the UI is just it's not good. So yeah, maybe Loomly.
Okay. Okay.
And I wanted to say one quick thing.
Go.
So if you want the post to perform, especially on TikTok, from what I've experienced, you still kind of want to publish everything manually through the app itself. There's just something about it where, I don't know, I guess maybe they can tell, well, I mean, of course they can tell with the APIs and stuff that you're not publishing through the platform, but the posts just simply underperform.
You really think so? Why would they? What would their incentive even be to limit that? Wouldn't they just want well-performing stuff to get boosted anyway?
So I asked them this, and they deny it, and I wanna believe it, because it would seem quite silly to be like, well, we want you to be on our platform, you know, even as a marketer, even when you push stuff. I have no idea. It's extremely weird, but I've sent them our analytics. And I was like, well, look at this. Like we're talking about the same types of posts because, well, basically I manage accounts for GTFO, the game, and Den of Wolves. And for GTFO, we're posting the exact same shit at exact same time, same length, same, like just everything. And we could see that, oh, every time we post it through Hootsuite, the posts just underperform, but like seriously underperform. Not stuck at 0 or anything, but underperform. And they're like, yeah, well, you know, it could be anything. So I don't know. I don't want to say that it's 100% the case, but we just ended up doing it manually. I know it sucks with the team, but yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
thanks a lot.
Let's see, because I wrote down a bunch of shit. Yep. That's all I had. See, no schizo.
Have fun. Bye.
All right, bye.
Wow.
living in an alternative reality. How can one engage audiences that seem to be living in an alternative reality? How do we reach people who seem smitten, besotted with the propaganda of sadistic strongmen? That's the sort of happy stuff that I work on, that I write books about, that I research at university, and that has become very, very personal for me in the last couple of years. I was born in Ukraine, and since the full-scale invasion began, I've been going to Ukraine a lot to work with an NGO called the Reckoning Project to document war crimes and to tell the truth about them to an often skeptical world. I'm afraid there's a lot of atrocities that we document. I was in the town of Bucha when it was liberated from Russian forces, entered the village to see hundreds of bodies strewn around being placed in a mass grave. And these people were killed not because a missile landed on them by accident. They were just shot for fun by Russian soldiers, just to prove they had the power over them. There was no military sense to this atrocity. And I remember talking to a Ukrainian general as we watched these dead bodies being piled in to a grave, and he was in shock. He'd liberated the village. But he was also in shock because he'd actually spent a lot of time in Russia itself. He'd actually studied to be a soldier there. He had lots of former students that he'd studied with there, former colleagues. And ever since the war had begun, he'd been calling them, saying, please do something to stop this horrific war. And they just throw the phones down. And so many Ukrainians were calling their Russian relatives, their now former friends, and saying, please do something to stop this war. At least don't stop your sons from going to fight in this war. And at the other end, they'd hear people who they'd known all their lives answering in the cliches of Russian propaganda, saying, you're making it up. You've made some sort of mistake. Or saying, probably your side just bombed itself by accident. Or saying, it's all fake. You're making it all up. And on Russian TV at the time, you'd hear these increasingly absurd propaganda pieces about atrocities like Bucha. I'll give you one example. After the atrocities of Bucha were discovered to the world, mainstream Russian TV, 7 p.m., so it's not some sort of kooky YouTube channel, mainstream Russian TV was claiming that the British secret services had engineered a fake atrocity in Bucha. The whole thing was staged. You know why and how they knew it was staged by the British? Because the place was called Bucha, which in English sounds like butcher, and only the English, this very literary people, would concoct an atrocity which in a place which sounded like the word butcher, and that was their proof. And people would repeat this absurd propaganda. And look, Russia is an extreme, a horrific example of people not wanting to live in reality, but I've been living in the US a couple of years and I see quite a lot of it here. Tens of millions, maybe more people who seem to genuinely believe that the last election was rigged, despite sort of court cases proving that it wasn't. So what can we do about it? I'm in a community of researchers, of academics, of journalists who've been trying many things for the last sort of decade, really. We've tried fact-checking. But we've also found that, when facts challenge people's identity, they kind of just bounce off. We tried worthy journalism, these great liberal newspapers lecturing people about how important it is to save democracy. I've written many columns like that myself. But I know that I'm preaching to the converted. I know that I'm within my own, liberal echo chamber, basically. How do we get beyond that? How can we reach the people who are somehow under the sway of this propaganda? And in a kind of despair, I started to turn to history. Might there be something in history that gives us a clue about what we can do today? And that's how I discovered a very strange and somewhat forgotten story about a covert British operation to subvert Nazi propaganda, perhaps the most or one of the most reality-denying, sadistic, dehumanizing propagandas ever, Nazi propaganda. And it was led by this man. His name was Sefton Delmer. A largely forgotten person, but very, very famous in his day. Sefton Delmer kind of shared a lot of the frustrations that I have. He felt that, at the start of the Second World War, liberal media, in his case, the German service of the BBC, or various kind of exiled pro-democracy groups who were still trying to communicate with the German people, trying to persuade them not to follow Hitler into his genocidal wars, he felt that they were doing it all wrong. Yeah? They were lecturing people, a bit like we do today, about how democracy dies in darkness, how we must stop fascism. He felt all of that, just like a lot of media today, is trapped in its own echo chamber, preaching to the converted. He wanted to do something different, and he knew what he was talking about. He'd grown up in Germany. He was British, but he grew up in Germany. He'd then been a journalist in the 1920s, inside Germany, and he got very close to the Nazi elites when they were still rising, and he got to see their propaganda system from inside, and essentially, he could see that it was based on 2 or 3 principles which are really very common to strongman propaganda today. The first of these was identification with the leader. What do we mean by that? Look, we often wonder, why do people follow leaders who are wildly narcissistic, sadistic, cruel, violent? When people first saw Hitler appear, they thought he was, some kind of freak, and yet this freak had a huge following. And Delmer worked out that these leaders were popular because they allow their followers to be the narcissistic, sadistic, cruel people that, at some level, many of them, and maybe many of us, would sometimes like to be. They were normalizing our most vile feelings. Yeah? Their very attractiveness was their nastiness. Secondly, he could see how people could sort of sublimate their agency through these leaders. These leaders could be their retribution. Yes, you're giving up a little bit of free will, but you could feel powerful through the leader. And thirdly, this propaganda and these leaders created a sense of community. Germany in the 1920s, a little bit, like America today, was a place where the old economic order was being destroyed, where the old social norms were in chaos, where identities were in flux, even gender norms were being questioned. And in this time of exciting, for some people, for others, very disturbing change, the Nazis said, we know who you are. You're true Germans. You're better Germans than all these immigrants over here. You're the true people. And we're part of one community, the Nazi folk, the Nazi people. We know who we are, and we're together. So Delmer realized that in order to subvert the connection between Nazi propaganda and its followers, you had to really climb into the dark operating of human desire, the place where fact-checking can't really go. And so, based at Woburn Abbey, a rather fabulous British country house near London, he gathered around himself psychiatrists, spies, soldiers, academics, a lot of exiled cabaret artists from the German theatre scene. He gathered them together and created this kind of covert media empire. Dozens of radio stations broadcasting into Nazi Germany and the rest of occupied Europe, newspapers, leaflets, this whole kind of factory of psychological subversion. Now, we don't have, sadly, the recordings of all these radio shows. However, we do have the transcripts. And when I realized these transcripts were available, I went delicious. And I started going through them. I actually spent a lot of COVID going through them. And they've been declassified from the British and the American archives. And as I went through these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, I realized there was kind of a pattern to them. You know, they were experimenting like crazy. But there is, because this is a TED Talk, because always three with TED Talks, there's three basic principles that I think Delma kind of landed on through experimentation. Number one, break the monopoly authoritarian propaganda has on strong emotions. Yeah, that's the root of their power. So Delma's media, his radio stations, which were many and different, but they were all a lot unlike the BBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post. They were full of vitriol, anger, a lot of pornography. They were tapping into all the resentments that Germans were starting to feel about their leadership. They were full of these sort of like howls and laments about families that people were losing in the bombardment, and then blaming the Nazis for not having provided the right air defense. Yeah? They talk about how, you know, the SS, Germans, the Nazi sort of elite secret police type units, how they were living, you know, this corrupt life while normal German soldiers were suffering. Here's just a little clip from one of the shows. The SS wear the German uniform, but they drag the German name in the mud. They should send them to the Eastern Front. There, everything else but their penis would get stiff. There, they would get an idea how hard the German soldier has to fight for his good name, while the SS clique does not give a shit about it. It was full of expletives as well. There were all these scenes. This is actually the most sort of like, you know, unX-rated bit of pornography I could find, which relates kind of like an orgy at an SS man's house. Like SS man Tienemann has a Polish lover at home who's personally in charge of the bamboo canes, twigs, thin and thick leather straps with which Tienemann and his guests are strafing her fat and large buttocks. And I had to cut it there because it goes on. So, you know, there's a reason to this. Yeah, he wants to disrupt the emotional bond that people have to the Nazis. He wants to cover the Nazis in what he called a layer of filth and slime as thick as the Nazis had covered the Jews. But his aim, once he's disrupted that, once he's sort of taken strong emotions back, is to create a space where you can introduce facts to people. He gave people advice about how to fake illness so that they could be sent home from the front. So it wasn't just any facts. It's facts that gave people back their agency, made them less dependent on their leaders. And thirdly, he fostered alternative communities. Yeah, if the Nazis gave you a sense of identity, a common sense of being part of the people, the folk, Delma's shows stressed the church, the army, family as these alternative bonds that people had. There's a very important thing in his shows. Basically, most of the shows he created would claim to be German shows. Yeah? They would say, we Germans. Yeah? They would be hosted by soldiers who just become POWs with the British. But the audience was meant to understand perfectly well that these were the British, yeah, dressed up as Germans. Now, why did Delma do that? First, he made it safe for people to listen to the shows. Yeah? If the Gestapo came along, you could say, well, I had no idea this was subversive. I thought this was German. It was psychologically safer. Yeah? It was more comfortable for people to hear the word our soldiers, our boys, than you Germans, you enemy. But even more so, he was saying something else. He was saying, look, we're the English, dressed up as Germans, and we understand you, your gripes, your anger, what matters to you, better than the Nazis. And if we, your enemies, not in a culture war, but in a real war, can understand you better than your bosses, do you really need them? Are they really looking out for you when they say they're going to be your retribution? Or are they just thinking about themselves? 40% of German soldiers that were surveyed by the British in these little sort of snap polls they did said they listened to this content. So how can we bring that all back to today? Yeah. Whether we're thinking about reaching Russians, whether we're thinking about reaching audiences caught up in what some academics call the far-right echo chamber. If we take Delma's principles, they are much easier to activate today. We know far more from things like, I don't know, online sentiment analysis. We know far more about what makes people emotional, yeah? What things they react to in a visceral way. Delma was just kind of shooting stuff, or literally shooting stuff into the ether. We know that so much more from today's data. When it comes to finding the facts that people care about, Delma had to do it through partisans, by opening up the letters of Nazi officials. Today, even in a country like Russia, we have non-stop leaks about the corruption of mid-level officials. We can use satellite imagery to understand, essentially, you know, has a road been fixed in a town, and, you know, do a story about that. We have so much more data than Delma had, but do we know how to use it to give people the facts that actually matter to them? And when it comes to fostering communities, look, there are so many digital tools that we have today that can show how a media is responsive to its audience. I mean, there's a great project called Hearken, for example, which algorithmically collects what people care about in a town or a topic, and then gets journalists to really focus on the things that they're worried about. And there's so many digital tools that we had. So if we put these things together, the visceral emotion, the data that tells us the facts that people really care about, the online use of communities, we can do something much more powerful than what Delma did. So, look, I know it's easy to despair. It's easy to despair when you hear people denying atrocities. It's easy to despair when we hear vast swaths of the American population living in an alternative reality. But before we give up, before we surrender, I think we can at least take some of Delma's lessons, fuse them with modern technology, and really, really try to reach them. Thank you.
Just called Trump gay a million times, and then we fucking got him. What is this?
Hey.
Oh, also a thing that I said before that Elon shows you a lot of hypocrisy in the conservatives. Remember too, okay? Because I think it's weird here. Him, always remember. Some kind of like feels that guy who's 50, and you're asking him, how did you take? And it's irrational or it's random. You just have to figure out when somebody says something, what do they actually? What the fuck? You know, it's just
a lot of it is all.
Okay. You're kind of already doing this when you're talking about all the billionaires Trump appointed. Yeah, the only issue, the only challenge that's unique today is that there is so much information and there is like so many ways for you to get sucked back into things that more and more of your reality is being created for you because of how many different ways you can connect to the internet and because of how many different parts of your life those things can inform than I think ever existed before. That's like the challenge. Like if you, basically at every moment of the day, you're connected to the internet and you're being told how to think about the economy, how to think about Ukraine, how to think about the border, how to think about your healthcare, how to think about the Democrats, and to break through that for however long, if I were to do a debate with somebody for like 30 minutes of clarity, I would call it, and then to immediately get sucked back into that. It's a much more comprehensive system to overcome, I think. Yeah. What is this? I just recreated iconic scenes from Game of Thrones using Veo 2 from Google DeepMind. How many can you recognize? What is the point of this? It's AI, sure, but that was bears. Wow.
Because after dinner, everyone ought to have a cigar. So I tried it. Well, the rest is history. I'm still smoking stogies. I love it, and he introduced me to something really good. And I know now the next question. Knowing you, being the interviewer that you are, digging in deep all the time, you will say now, what does your wife think about that? Let me ask you something. When my wife's father has introduced me to stogies, what is she going to say? She's not going to say my father made a mistake, because her father never makes a mistake. So therefore, it is okay. I can smoke stogies around her. I can smoke stogies in my house. First of all, because her father introduced me to stogies, and second of all, because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Was this a commercial or? House blooper reels. Let's watch 3 bloopers.
Are these people completely incapable of telling? Yeah, I don't want.
Wait. Oh shit, fuck. I was gonna say, when he messes up, do you think that does he talk in his English accent, or does he stay in his American accent, or? Okay.
Show me.
Hamas Sabi is molding on Destiny right now. On what? Is there just nothing else for him to talk about?
And it's very frustrating because you end up making your audience less intellectually curious. You end up making your audience intellectually incurious people who are constantly seeking out talking points rather than any sort of additional truth seeking.
I think it's actually, I changed my mind. I think it's really good to listen to Hassan because the projection is so good. He'll tell you, because he's not clever enough to actually invent anything going on the other side. He just ascribes what he does to me. So I think it's good to listen to him because you can figure out, okay, well, what does Hassan actually do? Okay, so he gives them talking points so they're not truth seeking. That's why he never shows any original videos and it's always these like clips and cut ups. Yeah.
Unproductive usually.
But you're only doing this if you don't know what you're talking about, and it's an attempt to kind of like slide past the actual arguments because you can't address them.
I might not necessarily be right or wrong, but they're arguments that I've thought about before. It's not that I'm smart, it's that the
This is like a
person I'm talking to
6-year-old
is
clip.
incredibly unprepared.
It's not like my position is hidden. I'm just not going to argue every single possible point that I have if I show up to argue with somebody about something, right?
If I can find some guy that's really confident in his positions, it's super loud about him online, I'm about to get a 300,000 view YouTube video roasting and grilling the fuck out of them on my stream, right? That's what we do, right? We're debate bros.
What is winning?
The person deletes their account after?
If they
Or gets
they're
fired from their job?
humiliated.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel after you win?
Oh,
Like doing
Hassan is
cocaine for
so
the first
mad
time
that I went
again,
on this show
every time.
and that
When
his
I
dog
debate
shit episode
somebody,
hasn't been
I wanna be
released.
really fucking brutal, and then I want that person to like feel like an idiot. I want them to look like an idiot. If I make your content creator look like an idiot, well, ooh, now you kind of feel like an idiot. That doesn't feel good. I'm the debater archetype.
Yeah. You do the same shit. You act like you are knowledgeable and act like you are. You do the same shit, bud.
Ooh, that guy's getting ultra banned.
I would like for you to present some examples if you possibly could. Like, there are issues that I'm not the most knowledgeable on, and I will
Like
be...
Israel, Palestine?
I will readily
And
admit
everything
it.
having to do with U.S. foreign and domestic policy?
I don't know why people immediately go, oh, this is projection. Especially when I'm talking about something like a position that I've held for a very long time.
Like, Lil Gup, you're literally spam watching a hate Twitter channel about me that is cutting 4-second clips out of multiple videos that are like 5+ years apart from each other. Are you okay?
Immediately. I wanna hear what he has to say. But basically, my point is this, okay? When when you don't have a moral compass or something that guides you through the world, like when you don't have like a empathetic approach to all subjects, okay?
Like when you're
And
making fun of Poles, when you're making fun of Israelis, when you're making fun of Jewish people, when you're like, what?
Destroying your ideological opponents in the marketplace of ideas, the audience that you foster in that process is not invested in a political project usually. They're just simply invested.
The political project of watching streams, because that's the only political project you've been involved in, and doing dono drives.
They like the drama. Does that make sense? And I don't like the toxicity that brings on, because then you're kind of at the whims of your audience. They constantly want you to burn bridges. They constantly want you to write manifestos and drop nukes on people. And not only do I think that is unproductive in creating both class consciousness or
Class
creating a
consciousness?
larger tent,
A larger
like-minded
tent?
individuals. That
Like when you're saying America deserved 9/11 and that Dan Crenshaw got fucked in the eye socket by a brave Mujahideen soldier, or when rich women getting raped by rich men at colleges is marginally better than poor women getting raped by rich men?
Of me or this community, this is something that I have time and time again railed against chatters on, when they're so unimaginably uncharitable. Right?
Unimaginably uncharitable.
Look,
as he watches an actual hater account, an anti-fan account that posts like 15 different like 2-second clips of me back to back to back.
Stream, stop reacting to 6-year-old clips that are designed to make him look bad. Lamau attack. What are you? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
What? I don't know what you're talking
Are you talking about.
what?
Destiny? 6-year-old clips?
And
I
I'm
think this
very-
is like new shit.
Oh, and now he pretends. Oh, I like how he says, I think this is new shit. Like he doesn't know every single detail about my current set because he's watching my shit constantly.
It's like audience that it attracts. And I think you're kind of proving that point that I was making.
And he's on the current clip, but he's not talking about the one like 2 clips ago.
You'll disregard people's view and bash them if they don't align with yours. I don't know. Like you say, sorry. You say you're a socialist, but actively benefiting from capitalism. Sorry to be rash in my first comment.
Bro,
Wait.
so capitalism or socialism is no house?
But
say
it has
say
nothing to do with the first comment that you said.
Say it. Socialism is when I can't have a house or a car?
The first thing that you said was that I present myself as the most knowledgeable person and then immediately try to like bully and ridicule the person I'm talking to. And there's plenty of moments where I do that, but that's usually after the charitability has gone away, where I see someone and treat them as a hostile factor.
Except this rarely happens because he only talks to people that agree with him.
For me to get there, it usually takes a decent amount of charity to erode for me to get to that position. And I only do it if it's like, it's pattern recognition to a certain degree. I only do it when like people are very clearly coming from a different community with a specific purpose to actively brigade or to actively disrupt, to actively derail. That's usually when I yell.
Okay, back to the anti-fan channel with the clips of me, please.
As far as the socialist but actively benefiting from capitalism goes, it is impossible to not exist under capitalism.
There it
just
is.
so you
No
understand.
ethical
if you are
consumption.
truly interested in understanding this,
Yeah.
there is no way to exist outside of those confines. But in terms of like the commodities that I produce, or my own personal.
I don't understand what is the argument that Destiny changed and old debate clips of him doesn't matter. It seems like he is a debate bro. I don't know if you're talking about me or Hassan. The reason why I'm criticizing him for using old clips, it's not, it's truly, that's just because it's the easiest criticism to make. The actual criticism is that when you say somebody's a debate bro, the actual argument that you're making is that the person is not interested in intellectually engaging with an argument. They're not doing any research into the argument. They're just looking for like cheap owns or wins or whatever. That's not what I do, though. I do more research than any other of these big fucking loser retard streamers or political pundits on the internet. Ask any of them to publish their research. Oh, publish your notes. Publish what you read. Show us. And don't just link a book that you've never opened in your entire life. Publish it. Show us. Show one stream ever of you learning about a topic, ever. Just one time. They don't do it because they don't do any research. They don't do any studying. They don't do any learning. They don't take any notes. They don't do any work for any of this shit at all. They just show up in front of the camera. They eat like 7 meals on stream, and then they just watch like tweets and YouTube compilations or whatever. So when you cut like a 5-second clip of me explaining, well, in some debates, my goal is to make the other person just look dumb because the person's not going to hear me, and that's the most effective way to communicate with the audience. That is true for certain debates. That is how I approach it. Like if I'm going to go and argue with like a crazy hater Nazi guy or whatever, yeah, my goal is probably not to convince him because I don't think he's going to change his mind. My goal is probably just to make him look dumb on certain points. When I was talking to Owen Schroyer, that was the goal in that debate. I could see immediately, oh, this is going to be incredibly hostile, so I'd have to make him look stupid. That doesn't mean that every single approach to all of my debates is looking stupid. Not only is that not true, I literally publish my notes on my rhetorical approaches to my debates. You can literally see, like nothing in here is about making the person look stupid, right? Rhetorical notes, stop hedging so much. Always restate narratives as much as possible during questions and responses. Make sure to maintain chain of argumentation from before and after. Like none of these approaches is like, be debate bro, blah, 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 blah. Like it's just, rhetorical approach, demeanor with Omar, calm with measured approach, far more aggressive than general conversations, take notes, respond to everything, less hedging, certainty with factual disagreement. Like, it's just cringe that like he just like repeats the same, like these are just like brainless, retarded fucking talking points. That's it. It's just, these are just like, it's sloganeering. It's like what Trump does. He's just like the Donald Trump dude. He just like repeats like baseless shit that has no like foundation of reality. Don't ever engage with any of the actual source material. Always watch, like maliciously cut clips or edits and then show that to the audience, pretend that's the reality, and then move on to the next thing. That's it.
With other prominent socialists, like this is not dogmatic. You know what I mean? I'm not an orthodox Marxist.
How is he showing you on Twitch if you were banned?
I hope you
They changed the rule for him so he could watch all my shit.
Irritable about this. I think everyone deserves nice things. And that socialism inherently is not a poverty cult.
Oh, there
it's
it
simply
is.
what people have decided is a poverty cult. Like other people have just decided that it is a poverty cult, so now you have to abide by the standards that I have presented for you.
Very destructive instead of constructive in my conversations.
Maybe the point of a debate is actually to try and bring people together and talk about things that are important to us rather than to tear each other down.
Okay. I'm constantly tearing down and I can show somebody why their argument is bad, but then when you walk away from it at the end, I'm just like a destructive force.
Like I'm literally like that clip right there. That was literally cut from a conversation I had with JJ where I'm talking about like I think being constructive in debates is more effective than being destructive in debates all the time. Like it's such a dishonestly cut thing. God, he's such a disgusting subhuman fucking piece of shit. Oh my God, I hate him so much. I legitimately hate this person. Like, he's like a actual force for evil. It's just like the Trump. He's just like Trumponian. Like that last clip there, I'm pretty sure was cut from this conversation.
Actually a good precedent. Like, would we really want to say that you could do something horrible to somebody if their children benefit in the future? It's like the argument that left-wing people use for climate change and all that you hate so much. So yeah, it's definitely you take people where they are. I asked you earlier if you ever like the debater archetype. I'm the debater archetype, and I'm very destructive instead of constructive in my conversations. And I've had like I'm trying to figure out recently like how do I want to like orient myself through this world, like because I have a big problem in debates to where I'm constantly tearing down and I can show somebody why their argument is bad, but then when you walk away from it at the end, I'm just like a destructive force. And I asked you for your thing because you said that, and your statement was incredibly positive. I felt patriotic because you want to talk about like political fluency, you want to talk about like positive aspects. How do you? In a world of online politics where everything is relentlessly negative, is this like a mindset where you're like, I want to tear down Trudeau for trying to do gun legislation because it's happening in Texas, but today I'm going to talk about something positive. What does that process look like for you?
I don't know. I mean, it's quite interesting talking with you, Stephen. This is probably the longest I've consumed you in any form.
Okay.
And you...
Like, this has been a thing I've talked about on my stream for years, is like making more constructive arguments rather than destructive arguments. But even destructive arguments aren't talking about being mean to somebody in a debate. It just means that you're making negative claims about a particular thing rather than presenting like a positive alternative. But you can do that politely or negatively. You can also be constructive, like in a mean way versus in a positive way. So it's not even really related to what he's talking about. It's just like a fucking clip farm. But that Twitter account is also, I think that Twitter account is called like Destiny versus Destiny. It's just an anti-fan Twitter account that will just try to like clip and cut like 30 different clips of me, like 5 seconds each to show how I'm like contradicting myself.
A lot of the a lot of the things that I talk about.
Destructive is in dismantling opposing arguments. Yes. So like the way that I typically approach things in my mind intuitively is when I see a bad argument, I'm usually thinking like, this is bad because of this or that or that or that or that or that. And then we go through the data discreetly or whatever. And that's how I view things. But most people tend to view things constructively in that they want like a positive narrative presented and then they'll grab onto the narrative and then the facts come later. So one thing I've always, I think I've worked on this for years and sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes it just depends on who I'm debating. It's like presenting a more positive argument rather than just presenting critiques of the other argument.
But here I am talking about my perspective all the way back, I believe in 2019, talking about my my attitude towards debate.
People in Destiny's community know your position. If you keep getting stuck on it so much, it shows that you seem triggered, therefore losing in the marketplace of ideas, which, by the way, is also indicative that like most people's understanding of debates are fucking idiotic. Further evidence that debates are not good for arriving at the truth and just simply about overwhelming your opponent rhetorically.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what I think debates are.
Like I like for me, it's, well, here's the fuck Destiny anti-fan Twitter account. And then for him, it's like, well, here's a clip of myself that I want to present to you from a long time ago.
And destroy the talking points of someone who is ideologically your enemy. Okay? But if you are engaging in debate for the spirit of debate, because that's your primary form of content, you're inevitably going to run out of shit that you care about, and you are going to start debating the efficacy of child pornography or the
and
ethics
incest.
of accruing CSAM. Like, that's it. That's insane. That's
like, this is the dude. If I had if anybody had the fucking balls, no, this wouldn't even be defamation to sue.
Sake of
he's just a disgusting, like, subhuman fuck. Like, it's just so gross. I don't know how I know how he lives with himself. He's trolling at this point. No, he's not trolling. But this is intentional. This is a grift, right? This is like the Tim Pool, the Steven Crowder, is you sit here because you lack the intellectual capacity. No, it's actually more malicious than that. It's actually not even that he lacks it, because I think he probably could. He's a reasonably well-spoken dude. Like, he's well-read enough to, like, spew his bullshit. He's literate. If he wanted to, he could dive into the arguments, but he doesn't need to, and he doesn't want to. It's easier to grift. It's easier to just like repeat the bullshit talking points, to never engage with anything on substance, because God forbid you expose yourself to being incorrect about anything ever. So you never stake out a research position on anything. You just recite like the same bullshit you see on Twitter. You never confront anybody adversarially. You always bring on people to circle jerk and agree with your opinions. And the only targets you ever snipe are 15-year-old Israeli chatters or people from the commentary community like Willie Mack, and still lose. Like...
And they like the sense of identity and the sense of community they get from participating in these sorts of actions. They like being a part of the process. They like being a part of the blood sport themselves. Anyway. I think you're right about most stuff. I just don't understand the need to sign an exclusive streaming contract with Amazon when you know it's only done to support Amazon and push people to get Amazon Prime and peddle their ass. To me, declining an exclusive contract with Amazon seems like the bare minimum. Well,
true!
You don't have to have this argument any longer, because
You're
not
banned.
only do I not have a contract with Amazon any longer, even though I still
How does he
am
avoid?
technically
He doesn't even
on
answer.
an Amazon platform, I also no longer serve ads. So I guess that talking point kind of falls apart, don't you?
Except no, because you probably made
no, of course the reason
over $10 million
an Amazon
on that
contract is
contract. Look how he doesn't even answer the question. Like I think that you're a bad person because you raped 15 women in a single night, and it's like, do you see anybody on my dick right now? Didn't think so. So why are you even bringing it up, dipshit? Those women are dead. Why the fuck are you even talking about it, retard? Am I raping anybody right now in this conversation? Looks like you lost that talking point, didn't you, dipshit? Like, what a retarded fucking thing to say. Like, you have to be, there has to be somebody listening to this. Some of these people listening to this must realize how fucking stupid his answers are, right?
Perspective. I know how to play ball, which allows me charitability as a person who still...
Also, you didn't choose to quit that Amazon contract. You got dropped.
platform that I can have the most amount of impact. Okay? Yes, I don't have an issue peddling the ads of Amazon, especially when the contract that I took on was advocated to make sure that I ran the least amount of ads that I can. Without.
Nope, that's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie. You didn't have to take that contract.
Sure that
make up a lie, quick. Make up a lie because that's bullshit.
Making sure that I had any additional problems.
No, what?
At
Any
the time
additional
when
problems?
the contract renegotiations were happening 2 years ago. That's such Copeland, play ball, drop ball, morals.
You're
and political
lying. He's lying. You didn't have to take. He took a premium partner contract. The premium partner contract was to force you to push ads. You don't have to do it.
You're greedy and move on, bro. Okay.
That was a choice that he made.
How this conversation started with like some semblance of charitability and very quickly turned into just admit you're greedy and move on, bro.
Thank you.
Let's say that I am.
Yeah, let's say that you are.
What changes about the arguments that I've presented? Let's say that I love capitalism. I'm a capitalist.
Let's say that I'm a debate bro. How does that change the arguments I presented? You spend every single waking second on your stream character attacking me. And now you're upset when people attack your actions? So now you want to say, well, just take me at my arguments?
Now let's talk about the things that I talk about. Do you have an issue with any of the things that I talk about? Are you simply that simple-minded that you're just like, oh, dude, socialism means no ads? Yes, because you present as anti-capitalism. No, I'm not. I just said that I love capitalism. I am.
Remember, Hassan, he didn't even want to run ads. He was forced to do it. Like, Hassan isn't even a big ad guy. He doesn't even like running ads. Fuck. Where's the,
Mr. Beast has been...
Oh, no. Find me this clip.
Oh, it's back. Okay, well, I'm running an ad, chat. So you already know the deal. It's top of the fucking hour, even though it's not. Because, well, I didn't run so many ads.
Yeah, you should catch up now.
Yeah, I'm trying to fucking pump out some of these ads. That's the thing, like, IRL streams are so much fun, but, like, they're just not as good as, like, regular streams. Like, you can't fucking run the ads, like...
You do IRL for the content. But
yeah.
If you always do IRL, especially the way we do IRL, like, you just lose a ton of money.
Yeah, you, like... It's always interesting, like, no one fucking subscribes. They don't give a fuck. They're like... IRL streamers don't subscribe. Ever. What are you eating?
Like, why didn't he just say here, oh yeah, it's hard because of my contract, or it's hard to meet my contractual obligations? Notice how he doesn't say that? Notice how he complains about lack of money. He agrees when S-Man says it. Yeah, you don't make as much money. And notice how he says nobody subscribes either, not as much money. But it's always the cope that his fan base will buy. Also, notice how I Googled the story, and then I found the story, and then I'm watching the full clip of him explaining it here, even though he's still going to say that this was out of context, and then go back to watching a little anti-fan account of mine in order to prove my hypocrisy by cutting 3-second statements out of different conversations 6 years apart of each other. But his fan base will still eat this slop up, even though he's like just lying. He's just lying.
At the time, they had actually stopped the process of offering the more favorable split of subscription revenue. So the only opportunity I had to maintain my same subscription revenue
your money, yes,
was if I got a contract.
The premium partner contract.
Luckily, they don't have this anymore.
This is, he admitted it, but he's not saying it directly. Yes, you didn't take it because you had to. You wanted the more money, bro.
The only way that
I
could get a contract is if I ran ads.
Yes.
Now that I don't have this contract, I no longer run ads. So that should be proof for many people, right? If you were truly interested in understanding my worldview, you would be like, well, let me interrogate this a little bit. Let me examine this a little bit. If you're not interested in that at all and simply are there for the blood sport and your job is to...
I thought that was a fan account? No. Is it Destiny versus Destiny? Oh, fuck. Somebody can... Oh, is it this? Tiny? Hold on. I don't even know what's going to show up on this account. Driving is more important than healthcare.
Yeah, driving is that's also a really great point too. Is that you don't have to drive, but you do have to
have health insurance,
have healthcare, right?
Being able to drive is probably more important for most Americans than having access to a hospital, right? For the percentage of Americans that have like life-ending healthcare situations, that would. This is just true. I'm sorry, I can't believe people are upset about this. Well, at least this one is like a full cut, and he doesn't actually clip in a million other things. FYI, healthcare doesn't equal health insurance. Hope this helps. Destiny's ADL audition tape. I'm starting to look at a lot of people who are Muslim or with Arabic names that talk
better term than that.
For like older people and mainstream Republicans, like Israel is still like number older. He's inherited on racist war machine in Israel. I am going to the ADL. True. But no, this is an anti-fan account. With 230 followers, Hassan is obsessed.
Air necessities budget. So can I ask you something? In all,
did you mean having access to any form of transportation or like a personal vehicle in particular? Personal vehicle in particular is necessary for most Americans, like over 70%, I think.
Invested in this Hassan, you're a socialist thing. I'm not. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. I asked you to argue against positions that I have, like, you know, moving American society in the direction of a social democracy, for example. This is what I believe. This is something that I'm very public about. Free healthcare, free education, and the like. Are you so simple-minded as to constantly go, you're a socialist and socialism is a poverty cult and you need to abide by these standards that I placed upon you, instead of having a more productive, more intellectual conversation?
I hope it doesn't work. People need to make more hate clips of Hassan. I hope it doesn't work, because you can tell that he's like desperately trying to rebrand to become more like palatable towards mainstreamish DNC people. That's like his next grift platform, and he's like desperately trying to appear more moderate.
Of ideas. Do you have any specific policy prescriptions to retrieve free healthcare and free education? Everything you say is just vibes-based analysis?
Yep.
Well, there are plenty of videos that you can watch that I have done over the course of the past 10 years, I would say, on all of those issues. Maybe you should go and watch them and then come back, because this is ultimately the reason why I ban debating or annoying derailers, because they're simply invested in drama baiting. And I was having a different conversation here, and there's
Wait, asking you, do you have any specific policy prescriptions to achieve free healthcare and free education? Everything you say is just vibes. That's drama? This is a drama question? What? That's a drama question?
Sure. And not because you're being unimaginably selfish. You only debate Tran and XQC. First of all,
XQC is a good debater.
That's not true. And I think you know that as well. I debate people when I find it to be productive, if they have a large enough audience that have individuals that I can potentially change the minds on. Don't forget Willie Mack. I know. And the 15-year-old Israeli that bodied you. At a certain point,
he's mad.
I think people understand exactly what's going on. We've gone far past that point. But hey, I almost want to fucking bring you up on guest star. I wonder where this guy came from. Yeah, I know.
Like, the random chatter.
Me being like, listen, do you have an issue with my advocacy for socialized medicine? And you go, my favorite idiotic drama farmer actually made a video on you, openly admitted that he actually didn't even know that I was covering BBC's analysis.
Oh, wait. Willie Mack is an idiotic drama farmer? Then why did you have a conversation with him? I thought you avoided those people.
I was saying that I was against.
Oh, it might be because Willie Mack has, is it 5 million or 6 million YouTube subs? Oh, 200. Maybe it's because Willie Mack is like expertised in Israel-Palestine. Maybe it's because
over and over again over the course of the past 10 years, if you have.
Just so you know, Hassan will never debate somebody like this because he's terrified that a person like this is gonna Sam Cedar him with me. That I'm gonna like sneak in through Discord and he's gonna fucking end his life on stream.
Then you should be able to come in and bring those points up. This was ironically something that I brought up with Willie Mack as well. I was like, Willie, you seemingly have a very, you seemingly have this this very serious conviction, right? You have all of these like these convictions against like what I do. Can you please bring them up? And he was like, well, watch my YouTube video. I was like, okay.
You brought him on to debate about his YouTube video and you didn't even watch it. You had criticism about his video and you didn't watch the video. What do you, like he's rewriting history live. He's rewriting history. It's the Trump shit. This is the Republican shit. It's the authoritarian fascist shit. He's just rewriting history live.
All of my commentary comes from reading Twitter posts.
It does.
Okay? Especially when you're here a week after I had the fucking Federal Trade Commissioner, okay? The commissioner of the FTC, Ta-Nehisi Coates, where I
don't know how to explain this. Having a big person on and then having a surface level conversation with them about like a breaking news topic is not like an in-depth conversation. That's not like a thing that you brag about. That's not like a, I learned so much. That's like a, come on and talk to me about like the current policy stuff. Like, why would you even brag about that?
Conversation.
Also, why would you make fun of Willie Mack telling you to watch his video that you were already making fun of before? But then when this chatter just asked you, give a policy for healthcare, give a policy for education, you say, go watch my YouTube videos on it. I just looked it up and there are none. I don't see any. What? How hard is it to just name a couple policy positions?
No understanding of any of the policies that I have advocated for. Am I getting that right?
Like you could have done it by now.
One policy example, I gave multiple.
You could have done it by now.
In terms of universal health care.
That's not, you're not naming
inevitably
anything
moving towards a nationalized structure.
Oh, okay.
Or free college education.
Oh, okay.
These are both policies. It's not vibes based at all.
That is policies,
These are policies that are implemented in countries like the one I come from, Turkey. Turkey has a nationalized healthcare structure, and on top of that, there is also private elements as well. Turkey also has free public education. Buzzwords. What do you think policies are?
They're slogans. What do you think a policy is? I'm just rereading that email. The really annoying thing is because the average Republican, in this case it's Hassan fan, is more right than the average Democrat, is left. It's easier to sloganize policy. Extreme positions almost necessitate a lack of nuance, and so they get a home field advantage in both being able to be simplistic and extreme in their policies or slogans, which means more engagement from their audience and those that disagree. Therefore, the algorithm is going to promote it, even without an Elon-driven bias, and since the arguments against that slogan's policy require even 1% of nuance to understand, they're ignored/silenced. This is the foundation of the it's just common sense. What are your policies? My policy is universal healthcare and universal education. Oh, cool, okay. What about your foreign policy? Oh, world peace. Oh, okay.
You can't just cite the dozens of videos in which you read tweets and claim you have a policy prescribed on how to achieve free healthcare and education. I am for universal healthcare. Oh, you are? Oh, fantastic. So what's your disagreement with my advocacy for universal healthcare? I think that considering that healthcare across the board, okay, whether it's pharmaceuticals or any sort of medical care whatsoever,
it's more expensive in the United States than in every other country.
Is it good with inelastic demand that there should either be severe market regulation?
That's not true. Inelastic demand? What are you talking about? Even medically necessary things don't have an inelastic demand, right? I'm on Vyvanse and I need it. It's medically necessary to treat my ADHD, but the demand for that is not inelastic. I could live without fucking Vyvanse. There's a ton of different treated things in the United States where you could live without. The demand is not inelastic whatsoever. I can't watch him. Fuck, he's an idiot. He's just a fucking retard. I can't watch this. Hold on, I'm getting too triggered. Stop. Fuck, he's so stupid. Oh, it's okay.